Welcome to a sunny new podcast where I'll be speaking to people from the arts, business and beyond, and shining a light on their stories of success on the South Coast. I've been really looking forward to this one. Anyone who knows me knows I love music, and I've been a big fan of Faker Smile from the moment I heard their debut EP, Shoot Me to the Moon, which was inspired by a mix of classic British rock and roll, sunny psychedelia, and some crazy Aussie housemates. They're a great bunch of guys, a proper band of brothers, and we had a really good chat about how they got together, the local music scene, and recording in LA with Mercury Prize-winning producer Gianluca Buccellati. I'm totally unapologetic about being their biggest cheerleader. I may not have the pom-poms, but it's about time a band put Bournemouth on the musical map, and I really believe that Faker Smile are that band. They might sometimes feel like they're watching from the rafters, but it's only a matter of time before they take centre stage. So if you're sitting comfortably, let's do this. Well, welcome guys. Thank you so much for coming in today. For the benefit of the audience, you guys had a gig last night, so I'm semi-relieved to be seeing you in the first place. I got out of there before it got too messy. I thought, like, seeing as I'm asking the questions, I need to at least have a clear head. So, as you know, I've been a massive fan of the band since I came across the EP. Loved Shoot Me to the Moon. And it's cool that you've made time before you guys blow up and don't have time for the likes of me anymore. So for the benefit of all the new fans hopefully listening today, would you mind firstly introducing yourselves and what you do in the band?
Yeah, of course. I'm Jamie and I sing.
Yeah, Luca, I play guitar.
I'm Matt, I play bass.
I'm Ryan, I play drums.
Thank you very much. And again, for the benefit, before we get into all the meaty stuff, let's go back to the basics. So we can't start without hearing the story about how you guys got together.
Yeah, so I mean, me, Matt and Luca, we go back to school. So we've been friends for like 15 odd years. We were in a shitty band in school and then kind of parted ways for a bit, and then me and Luca moved to London together and decided to start it back up again. We were working in a hotel, which is where we met our producer.
Yeah, I'd met Ryan. I went to study music in London, and then we had like a fun uni house around where Ryan lives in London. And we used to have like parties and jams all the time. And then like I heard Ryan playing drums and he was great. And I asked him kindly if he'd like to join the band. And then awesome. We went to record our first ever songs we did together in Southampton, actually, in the Ranch.
Okay,
it's a studio that the singer of Matt's band that was performed last night.
Yeah.
He used to intern there.
Yeah, that's right, many years ago.
Yeah, and so he used to record us like at night and stuff when it was cheaper or free.
Okay, nice one.
So that's why we did our first band. As Dom used to record us at. So
every band needs a place like that.
Yeah, just yeah. I remember once they had rats and we had to sleep in the car. Me and my brother. The bedrooms had rats in there. But yeah, it's like a proper like punk, like quite famous punk studio. A lot. Ryan came down. We recorded the first couple of songs.
They don't have rats anymore, by the way.
They don't have, yeah. No,
what tunes were they that you first recorded?
Like Over and Over, and like a couple of the first songs.
It's a cool track, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was that was probably like to be honest with you, we were so keen to get going that we booked the studio. I actually got evicted from my uni house, so I had the money, so I wasn't paying rent in London anymore. So I just we booked the studio, found a producer that we knew at the time, and then I was like, oh shit, we got to write some songs. The songs came afterwards, but we were just kind of very influenced by when we started the band. I think like Crab used to share a lot of songs that he was and like albums that he was learning from the Australian people he was living with in the Netherlands.
Yeah. So I lived in Amsterdam for a year and just lived with a bunch of crazy Aussies who got me really into sort of like the indie scene out there. And that was a big influence when we first started, for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And when I first saw you guys play, you were a three-piece, and a lot of the early videos are a three-piece. And Matt, we now have a fourth member.
Yes.
So how's it changed since you've joined the band?
Well, from my side, it's been a game changer for me being able to play with these boys. It's been really, really fun. As James said, we go back a long time, and Ryan and I got on well from the get-go, mainly for our love of Arsenal Football Club. But for me, I obviously was fully aware of what the boys were doing, so much like you was a fan from the start. And then when they asked me to play, I luckily had a bass that I bought on eBay maybe 4 or 5 years ago, just for demoing stuff in my room, which really was gathering dust at the time. And they said, do you want to come and play bass? We need a bassist. And it was like the easiest decision to make. So
that's a great story. It's nice having someone you've known for a long time. So I really think that camaraderie is like so important in a band.
It's so important because I mean we played with like 3 or 4 bassists in that like period of being a three-piece, and that was what was missing with them. Like the harmony just wasn't there. So I think because we were friends with Matt before being in a band with him, that whole thing was already there. But
like Matt's just like, not to blow too much smoke up your ass, but like Matt's the kind of guy, like he just shows up, knows his shit, he's practiced, he's learned everything, like all the basic shit that you want in the band. Drives,
has a nice car,
handsome motherfucker, like all of
ticks all the boxes.
Exactly. So it was
kind of annoying.
But I know, so it's kind of just like slipped, and obviously because Matt's like I don't know, because he's obviously been in bands as well and stuff, all of this like show booking that we were talking about earlier on, off camera and stuff, about like what we're up to and things. Like Matt, I don't have to teach Matt anything. He teach, he helps us with stuff. We learn stuff together. It's just
he comes along, he knows the score. That's really good. I always wonder with a band like you guys who are definitely like kind of on a clear rise, and it's really exciting to sit and watch. But from your point of view, can you guys remember a moment where you're like, yes, we're on to something now? It's not kind of like just fun, but we've actually, there's a song, or is there a moment where you're like, it's happening, we've got something?
I mean, it's got to be when we first met Gianluca. Because we went from just, working obviously like 12-hour shifts in a hotel and then demoing up until like 4 a.m, and then met this dude, and then before we knew it, like we were in LA with him recording Shoot Me to the Moon, and it was just like, what is actually going on here?
So just for the benefit of the audience then, because this is kind of like your sliding doors moment, isn't it? This is like the big break, the moment every band kind of dreams of. So you meet Gianluca Buccellati.
Buccellati.
Apologies for if he watches.
He'll say himself, everyone butchers himself.
But an absolutely amazing producer, Mercury Prize-winning producer, Grammy nominated for Arlo Parks' debut album.
That's actually when we met him. He was staying at the hotel to go to the Mercury Awards.
So I was going to ask if you don't mind just sharing that little story.
I mean, like, I checked him into the hotel, and he was on FaceTime to lead him with a band called Easy Life, or they're called Hard Life now. So obviously I was like, who the fuck's this? And then
we just happened to both be working the desk.
Which like never normally would happen.
They'd separate me and James.
I wonder why.
I can't think of why that might have been. And then I ended up going for a cig with him, and I just was like, I need to shoot my shot, and I was like, I'm in a band, played him a few like demos and stuff, and he fucked with it luckily. And then we honestly just formed a friendship with him.
Yeah.
So for about a year, we were just partying relentlessly and not really doing any music. And I think...
Was that when he was in London?
Yeah.
Coming over?
Yeah. So, I think the way he works, like... It just comes back to the camaraderie thing. Like, that's something he always stresses, and I think he likes to form that relationship with an artist before he starts working with them.
To have that as a producer, it's almost like a fifth member of the band. The way you describe it, it's just the dream.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, I mean, we always say, like, when things eventually do, like, hopefully take off, like, I'm sure we'd love to have him, like, just come on tour with us, and he can be in the band if he wants.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be perfect, wouldn't he? Because you're going to need, like, a keyboard player. You need, like, a multi-instrumentalist, someone who can do everything. All the BVs, everything.
He played with us in LA.
Oh, did he?
It definitely, like, helped level up the sound.
Oh man, that's exciting. We'll come back to that. It's always funny. I don't know whether you guys have reflected. I mean, obviously that's a massive moment, right? And it's like you could have been on a toilet break, right?
Yeah.
Like when and fair play for taking that shot, because that's what it's all about. And I think for like young bands, like part of this podcast is about inspiring people, and hopefully there's people watching this, maybe some young musicians and that, but it's a real lesson that if you get that opportunity, you've got to seriously hustle.
100%.
It's weird.
You go.
Sure. Yeah, it's weird because I like really did, when I moved to London, I didn't go to uni straight away at 18, so I went to uni at like 21 or something like that. And then but I had it in, like, I had thought about that previously. Like, I was like, when I go to London, because I'd moved to London and moved back just on a whim, because I just rocked up to London with a guitar and I was like, I'll be fine. And then, I wasn't.
What could possibly
I wasn't. And then like when I came back for the second time, I think I had that realization where I was like, oh, I want to, like, I always worked at like nice hotels and stuff like that. Like I find hospitality like fun. I think a lot of artists and creative people end up working in hospitality. So you meet a lot of interesting people, whatever. But I worked at some really nice places. I've met some really crazy people, like famous people and stuff. And I think if you're personable, it does, because a lot of nowadays is pushed like the internet. But at the end of the day, I think the best producers have that relationship with the band. For example, like you look at like all of the amazing bands over the years, even the Beatles, Chili Peppers, whoever, they're synonymous with somebody that helps them capture what they're best at. Strokes, first album, perfect example of that. And we and I think with Gianluca, like just that idea of getting along as friends. I think whether he liked the stuff that we were working on at the time or not, I think he would have still like helped us in some way, shape or form, you know, because we just did create a friendship similar to the situation with Matt and when I met Ryan, just great people to be around generally. And I think that it doesn't matter really, like talent is one thing, but I think being personable is just a completely different, goes way further than being good at the guitar, to be honest.
So you guys heard it here. So it is really good advice though, I think, like you say, because the whole industry's about relationships, isn't it? And I guess you're going to find that, like, it's like you want a booking agent that's got that same vibe that you have that relationship with, because these are the people that are going to actually go the extra mile for you, which is what you need. So have you thought then what would have happened had you not met him? Like, do you think, like, from what you're saying, like, you know, maybe there'd have been another opportunity, like you got to keep putting yourself out there, right?
I mean, now I think me and Luca at that time, like we had the plan, obviously, like, you know, it's one thing being lucky, but it's another thing putting yourself in places where you're more likely to luck out. So like, you know, working together in like a cool hotel in London was a tactical move in some places, because like, you know, we thought like if we're gonna meet people, a job in a hotel was like a really good place to do that. That
was a clever thought, I have to say. It's a good idea. That,
to be honest with you, it's weird because I used to work at a hotel called the Langham, which is opposite the BBC. It's one of like the nicest hotels in London, and I met everybody, like even music people. I met LA Reid, who started Def Jam. I'm pretty sure. Like I met loads of people in music. What?
You're gonna get fact checked on that.
Yeah, God, I don't know his history. Pretty sure he started.
We'll cut it out.
Yeah. But you know, like major players in music and acting, like, you know, superstars. Like the day I remember my first day. I think Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks were having a party to celebrate some film they'd just done in the hotel. So
you
I had this
Pep as well, didn't you? Guardiola.
Pep Guardiola was there.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, then loads of people, actors left, right, and centre, and footballers. So I was just kind of like, oh wow, this is weird. Like I've just moved to London from a small town, but I'm like here with all these people. Everything seems a bit more real.
I was going to say we had a similar experience, I think it will probably come back to that move to London. But it's funny when you're brought up in a place like Bournemouth, you feel like you're quite on the kind of edges of things, don't you? As soon as you're in the centre of London, there's so much opportunity there, and it feels achievable, doesn't it? You can almost touch it all of a sudden.
Literally, I like. That was a really overwhelming feeling for me. Like I remember when I first moved there, like it never felt more tangible, and like I just became so restless because I could just feel that like at any moment we could be on the cusp of something happening.
And you got the buzz of the city on top of that.
Exactly.
It's just a totally different vibe. Before we get, I want to talk a little bit more about the whole recording thing with Luca. But just again, I feel like we need to check off another thing in terms of the band name. So where does the band name come from?
I mean, I'd like to say that it has some big thought out deep meaning, but I mean I think it was just in lockdown when me and Luca started working together again, and I just thought it sounded cool.
That's as good a reason as any. I thought I had read somewhere that it was something to do with it was the name of a song by a band.
It was. There's a band called Sticky Fingers in Australia, and they have a song called Fake a Smile, which is where I saw it and thought it sounded cool. And then it also, like, they got their names from the Stones, so it was like
and
carrying
the
on.
Stones got their name from Muddy Waters.
Yeah. So it's like carrying on the.
It's
the
a
chain.
great rock and roll tradition that you've kept going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk about the recording, because Luca, he works with a real eclectic mix of artists. Like I was checking him out, and he's working with he's worked with like Lana Del Rey, some hip hop stuff, and then we were talking earlier about his solo or his like personal project, White China, and big shout out, listen to Shake, cracking song.
That is a banger.
Awesome tune. How much has he influenced the sound, do you think?
Yeah, loads. I mean, one thing that we really struggled with was sort of capturing what we had in our head in the studio. And I think he just got the vision, and he helped, I don't know, like our sound have that edge that we were sort of like just searching for so long. And like one thing he's really good at is bigging you up and giving you the confidence, and then that just like translates so much in the studio.
I mean, you have to have that, don't you, to give like the killer performances. You've got to have like 100% confidence in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, it's a bit like, you know, I know you guys are all football fans. It's a bit like the football manager analogy, in that you've got to be like that person that puts people in the right kind of frame of mind.
Oh, definitely. He's very relaxed, wouldn't you say, as well?
Yeah.
Like when we did the new stuff the other day, and you rocked up on the day, like you.
Yeah, no, it's just an easy process, with him. It makes it so fun and easy.
How do you find it? I have to ask, like, because obviously I'm interested in the drums, like the drumming, like recording process. Is he like the kind of producer that's going to spend like 3 days on a snare sound, or are you that type of drummer?
No. We just smash it out normally, pretty quickly. We normally get the sounds quite rapidly.
Yeah.
And the first EP was done in like a library of the house.
Yeah, library of the house. He normally kind of knows what's going to sound good and what space to record in.
Yeah.
So
and Ryan's just like so insane that like honestly
it's like a metronome.
Literally. So he's like, we always say it's like a one take wonder, because it's like smashes it the first time. We'll do more takes just because you feel like you have to. But like he bashes it out so quickly.
That's a hell of a compliment.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
that's cool.
every studio we've gone to, or every producer we work with, like tries to pinch Ryan for session work. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single person we worked with that hasn't been like, "Hey, do you want to do some session work?" I'm like, leave my fucking drummer alone.
Yeah. Literally, yeah.
It does come across, though, I have to say, it's like a real benefit to the live show because you're playing to like a click as
Yeah,
well.
and I'm the only one on it, so
I was
Very
going to
focused.
ask you about that. We'll come back to
Yeah.
that live show thing. So obviously you guys have got an amazing relationship with him, and again, just for the benefit of everyone watching, you guys kind of live in the dream, right? As he said, you're on the plane, you're going to LA to record with this awesome producer. You turn up, you're doing the Shoot Me to the Moon EP. How did you have the songs already, or and how, what was it like working with him through those 5 tracks?
Yeah.
Appetite was the only song that
Yeah.
was like a thing before we went to LA for that first EP. We didn't really know what to expect, to be honest with you, because again, we'd had a friendship and a relationship with him where he'd been mentoring us and stuff, but we kind of went to the first time we went out there to record that EP. We didn't even like, nobody, not him, not us, knew really what we were going to do out there. We were kind of just like, let's just go and see what happened. But I think with his talent, like we just kind of trusted it. And I think it's just this energy of just like, we'll figure it out kind of thing. And there's no limitations to his creativity. So genuinely, like things just like click. And I remember when, like we were in a pool, in a swimming pool at the house that we recorded the first EP, because that was a crazy house as well that we recorded in. We were in the swimming pool, and there was been a demo of Appetite done, and I remember James just saying to Gianluca, "Oh, what about that song Appetite?" And then Gianluca, I literally could see it now, and he just like was like, "Oh yeah," and just got out of the pool, and without saying anything. We stayed in the pool, and then by the time we finished swimming, we went upstairs. He'd like pulled it up and like had ideas, and we were ready to go. Like, this is what I mean. Like, it was so easy, and now that song's got 1 million streams. It's just like quite funny. And James just was like, "Oh, what about that one?" And we were in the jacuzzi, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's good."
That is funny.
That's so twat.
That's literally how it happened.
That
It's
is
so funny.
that it's mad looking back at it, isn't it? You
Yeah.
must have been like in that pool thinking, how did I get here?
Mate, yeah, the imposter syndrome was real. Yeah, because like it was this big mansion where there's like multiple studios in there, and there'd be like legit like already famous artists just wandering around and like recording there as well. We were just like, how the fuck have we ended up here?
Yeah.
Oh man, that is awesome. I was going to ask, I mean, like I already mentioned it once, you know, I just love the title track of that EP. All of the songs on that EP are good, but that was the one when I heard that, it made my ears really like prick up and think these guys are different, certainly from anything we've got in this area. Where did that sound come from? Because it's got, I guess it's a kind of maybe slightly like Californian influence, kind of psychedelic type of vibe.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a little bit Oasis-y, to be honest with you.
yeah, it is a little bit Oasis. I don't know. For me, like that, the more like psychedelic-y influence from us comes from Zeppelin. Really, like me and Luca like just worship those guys. So yeah, I mean, again, it just started just from like little back and forth ideas with everyone, and then I don't know, we were listening to quite a lot of No Quarter out in LA.
The live,
Yeah,
the Madison, the Madison Square Garden. That's I haven't ever like got bored of that live performance. Like, what was it? Is it 77? Madison Square Garden.
Have you heard it?
I've heard bits of it.
Yeah.
I've got a mate who's a massive Zeppelin fan. He's
Yeah.
going to be loving when he listens back.
Yeah.
I think they're the greatest band of all time,
Yeah.
and I don't think anyone comes close. But I think like what you were saying about Shoot Me to the Moon, and what we were saying as well earlier on. I think we just love having like a scope on the songs. So you've got like Beechwood on the new EP, like Beechwood House next to Wandering People,
Yeah.
and it's like, and it's the same as Zeppelin. It's like Jamaica and rock and roll. There's like, doesn't sound like the same band, but they can do everything.
Yeah.
So it's
long may it continue, because that's definitely one of the strengths of the band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's we're definitely
Hold on to
gonna continue to throw in little curveballs.
yeah.
So talking about getting a bit more into the writing process, you study guitar at music school in
Yeah.
London, and I get the impression, listening to a few of your earlier interviews, that you love the art of songwriting.
Yeah.
That it kind of comes across, and I think initially I read that you were primarily like probably the main songwriter, certainly in the early days. How's that process evolved now you've got the full band?
I think everyone. I write just for myself anyway. So I think I want to be a writer when I'm older. Like after we've given everything to the band, that's kind of like how I want to spend my adult life, just writing songs. So I really enjoy that. Gianluca's an amazing person to learn from, and like, watching his processes, and I send him songs even that aren't band related, and just be like, is this shit? And it's very and he's honest with me about things, and like he's helped me to grow as a writer. I think we all got way more comfortable about working together. I mean, on the new we just finished up 2 songs that might come out like by themselves at the end of the year sometime, but that was just like there's one song and I was like, I think this should have an outro with like a guitar part, and you guys were watching, me and Gianluca, we did like 6 takes of like this like solo-y section, and then he was like, we could just blend them all together, kind of not like take individual bits, but I mean literally they're all stacked. There's like 6 different solos happening, but it sounds really spacey and wild.
Sounds so cool.
Yeah, and the way that he just like, you know what I mean? So it's like, it came, I was playing the guitar, coming up with the stuff, but like the way that he puts it all together and things is just like, I was just like, oh fuck.
Kind of takes this stuff to another level, doesn't it?
Definitely,
That kind of creativity. What about from your point of view, like Matt, Ryan, do you bring any parts to the kind of table? Do you have a like rehearsal time maybe where you're playing a beat, or you're bringing something and a song starts in a different way?
I think from my side, when we went over to LA this year, obviously I joined the band sort of post these the 2 EP releases, and so I was sent some tracks to sort of learn, and then actually when we went out to LA, Gianluca was sort of giving me some ideas on how to work, so we were working together on changing a few things for the live show. So I've definitely taken those. So to last night, there might be, to the gig that we played last night in Bournemouth, there might be some differentiations from what's on the record, and I think that's been quite fun, just to add some more layers. I think because as much as we have backing things that play during the show, there's one guitar, so sometimes bass fills in the gaps. So I obviously didn't have much of an influence on before, and on the 2 new ones that Luca was alluding to, again, we're sort of working together on those, and there's a few little rides I like to do. I think when I work with Gianluca, he's just an absolute genius, but he certainly gives you the freedom to get. I think it comes back to his chilled nature. He's not rigid by, if there's anything that he's come up with, that's what it's got to be. But he's good at giving, particularly for my side of things, a good starting point. So it's nice. It's definitely an evolution thing.
Yeah, that's really exciting to see how that continues to evolve, and I'm really looking forward to hearing these new tracks as soon as this finishes. So I guess just to leave the audience with something, because I could probably rave on about all the tracks, but if you 4 guys just pick one song for anyone new to the band to go and listen to.
Snow White. It's probably, I'd say it's the most all-rounder song we have, in the sense that it's got all of our elements in it.
It is a killer track.
Yeah.
It is a hit, I have to say. What about you,
Appreciate
Luca? What's your tune?
I think it's probably Snow White as well. I was a massive fan of that song. It's my favourite song from that EP for a long, long, long time. I agree with James. It captures like a lot of things that we want to achieve in one. But I would say nowadays, looking back on it, I love Beach House.
Yeah, no, it's a cool track as well. What about you, Matt?
For me, I'm going to say Snow White as well.
You got to give the audience something, Ryan. I'm relying on you.
But I will say, coming back to your question on sort of that moment that you felt, oh, we've made it, or like a turning point. Obviously, I wasn't part of the band at the time of the Gianluca sort of introduction, but we played a headline show at Colours last month, I believe it is. And that was sort of at the time Snow White had actually been out. So whereas before it was maybe some close friends who had heard it, but at that point everyone had heard Snow White. And that when we first played the chorus, there was, I think, that moment where it was a pinch me moment where everyone was singing it back. Yeah,
it was. I think it was the first time I've ever had where I was like struggling to hear myself.
Wow.
It was pretty.
So that was.
Pretty
so
cool.
If that doesn't sell it to anyone, it's a catchy chorus.
It's a great sing along.
Yeah.
I was having a good sing along.
I'm glad. Yeah.
What about you, Ryan? Are you going to give us a curveball?
I'll give you a curveball. I think if you want a main character moment, I'd say put some headphones on and listen to Don't Stop.
Yeah.
I'd say you get in your element. You're listening to that guitar riff.
That is a great shout, actually. I like the advice of sticking the headphones on and having a moment. It kind of deserves it, that track.
I think so.
To pick up the bass, I think. You just need to hear that.
You feel like you're like walking in slow motion.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
a cool one.
If we talk just a little bit more on the sound, because it's something else I read, I think again it was from you, Luca, saying that you were really keen that you kind of established like a signature sound, at least for this kind of era of the band.
Yeah.
And that, I think that was the interview was from a couple of years ago. So I was kind of interested. Do you feel like, are you there now? Do you feel like you've got what you had in mind?
I think from the first EP to the second EP, the second one is a bit more coherent, but still having those elements of like a curveball and this psychedelic nature of what we want to put out. But like in terms of like Take It Easy, Snow White, Wandering People, like they all kind of sound like Amnesia as well. They all kind of have a sound, which is nice. I definitely think like we can continue to take it in different places. Like whether like the new stuff, the new songs that are coming out, like they're a bit more, they're a bit less. I don't know how to describe. They're a bit more like poppy, and they're a bit more like laid back than But it's different, and I think I want to continue to like evolve it. Because for example, Appetite is its own thing. Yeah. That song sounds like it could have come out in the 70s, but it could have come out in 10 years' time. That's why I love that song. Yeah. So having that timeless nature, I think we're like working on. It's never going to go away. But the actual sonic, like I want to keep, instead of maybe at the time probably wanted to like do this. Now I kind of want to continue to like expand it,
Yeah, because I read that you're a fan of bands that kind of have these chapters and they kind of evolve over time, which I think that's what separates the great bands.
Yeah, I agree.
How would you? I hate asking this question, but it kind of feels like you have to ask this question just to give like new listeners an idea. But how would you describe the sound?
It's a tough one.
It's a horrible question. I did apologise.
I think I said this before, but I always like describing it as we're like a garage band that's floating in space.
I have to say, I love that description. I think that captures it pretty much as well as you can. So let's leave it at that.
Nothing else to be said.
Where do you go from there?
Yeah.
But influence is again always difficult, and we talked earlier about how it's interesting, like the melting pot. Everyone's bringing something different. But I guess, is there any bands that you all love? You mentioned you two love Zeppelin, but is there any band that the four of you like violently go, yes, love them?
I'd probably say like the Strokes. We all pretty much love the Strokes.
Yeah. I think all of the English bands we like, especially the indie ones like the Arctic Monkeys, all the bands that we grew up with and stuff. We all love. We all love and also we all love the classic rock and roll bands. So I don't know if there's one particular one that we all absolutely love.
Maybe like the Rolling Stones. I feel like everyone's pretty keen.
Yeah,
on
we absolutely love the Rolling. At the moment, we all like GEESE.
Oh yeah, have you heard?
No, I haven't.
Oh, they're wicked.
They are wicked. They've got one album out. It came
Where
out
are they from?
New York.
Okay.
Same as the Strokes.
Same as the Strokes, but they're signed to Partisan, who's like a cool label. We've got some great artists on there. Fontaines were on there till recently as well. And then they put out one.
Check that.
I'm just making shit up.
I'll get my fact check.
It's like a fact check light or something that just flashes.
Someone in the corner that goes like, GEESE. I've honestly, if you haven't heard GEESE, let's do it. They put out one album the same month, I think, that we put out Shoot Me to the Moon, and they're only sitting at like less than 200,000 monthly listeners, I think, on Spotify or something. But it's the fucking best album I've heard. In fucking
they
a
are
long time.
awesome.
Okay.
Like they are like they've got something special.
The most amazing fucking voice. The band's incredible. Like,
it's a good tip. I'll definitely check
please,
them out.
if anyone hasn't heard, this GEESE album is fucking.
You looking to join, mate?
Oh, if they haven't,
look dead in the camera.
if someone to shake the tambourine, I'll fucking do it.
I wanted to talk a bit about, like, you mentioned the Rolling Stones, and I think it's interesting going back to you, Ryan. Like, Charlie Watts came at the Rolling Stones with a different vibe, with a like jazz background.
Yeah.
You've got this kind of interesting R&B gospel background, which can you tell us a little bit about that and how you think maybe that's influenced like the sound of the band?
So I grew up playing like a lot of rock music, and then one day I saw a video of Aaron Spears playing a video of him doing Caught Up by Usher, and it was like a gospel. It was just insane, and it kind of changed my way of seeing drums. It kind of changed how I was playing.
Wow.
So yeah, I suppose there's a little bit of influence in the live sets.
Yeah, you like throwing in a chop live, don't you?
Sometimes, if I'm feeling up. But yeah, it's a bit different. The music style is a bit different.
And I guess even in terms of your technique, it must have
influenced
influenced it a little bit.
From that, definitely.
It's funny, isn't it, how these little subtleties just bring something different to the overall party.
No, definitely.
No, it's cool. Lyrics, again, I think it's a real strength of the band. Like some really classic lyrics. I talking of Snow White, the lyric I love on that, and maybe it's my age, but I just love the old enough to know better, but young enough to party.
Yeah,
I feel like I live that on a pretty regular basis. But what inspires the lyrics, and who writes them?
Again, like it's a super collaborative process. Like I think it helps that we spend so much time together, so a lot of the experiences we've shared. So
they do feel like a lot of the lyrics, I often wonder, it sounds like they're based on like little stories things, which I like.
Yeah, they're definitely I think it normally starts with like a theme and a feeling that we want to hone in on, and then naturally that just starts linking to the real experiences we've either had together or like our own. But yeah, like everyone is sort of involved in that process, which is nice.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little bit different from a lot of artists as well. It's normally,
the singer turns up and goes, "These are my lyrics. You better like them." That's it.
I think literally. I think one thing that I'm gonna give us credit for is we're good at putting egos aside in the band, and like if anyone has a sick idea, then it doesn't matter where it's come from or who it's come from. It just care about making the best piece of art possible.
Yeah, that's really important. I mean, the politics just kills bands, doesn't it? So having that as a kind of principle is just stand you in good stead.
I think that's just helped with our relationship with Gianluca, because he bleeds creativity. Do you know what I mean? So he's got so many ideas, and he's got his vision for songs, and but we're so receptive to that it works. It doesn't, like, his advice and his opinions don't get pushback from us, because we're like, okay, well, you
he's the catalyst, really, isn't he?
Exactly,
I think it's a matter of he'll come with ideas sometimes, as big or small as they are, and he's good at showing the vision of a song. And I think because all of our influences, or we have a lot of coherency on that, and we share that with him, it comes back to that sort of extra member of the band. Of it is so collaborative.
Yeah. There's no pushback from anyone really.
No.
You know, so it's good.
It just keeps growing, really. The song, the idea.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. What have you guys got? Any favourite lyrics? Anything come to your mind?
Yeah, the Snow White hanging from the rafters like a burlesque dancer. It's such a paints the picture of that girl, whoever she is, in that moment in that song.
Oh, I love that line,
amazing.
and it's given the EP its name, that lyric as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah, it is. Oh yeah, whoa! Out of body experience. James came up with that to be the title, actually, and it was more lent into the idea of from the rafters being the cheap tickets in a theatre, and then sometimes how we feel, because we're just trying to do this band stuff, and no real funding or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Just
I know all too well. Sadly. yeah.
I think
that's a great take. Actually, I hadn't seen that angle. I just assumed it was from that lyric.
Yeah, no, it was.
It's got multi-level.
That's it. I thought. The line in the song and the line as the EP title kind of mean two completely different things.
That's cool.
But I love the lyrics in Amnesia. I think there's some corker lines in that one.
Yeah, any one in particular?
Just
do you know them?
Not without his teleprompter.
I like the one about doom bugging. No, just all of them.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave the audience; they can go and discover it for themselves.
Do you guys have a favourite lyric?
Shoot me to the moon, shoot me back.
Oh, shoot me to the moon is a great lyric.
Yeah. I like the ending of Prom Dress. I don't sing them, so I can't remember them off. No, but the
I can't remember them either.
Shout out to Stars.
Yeah, shout out to Stars, Jupiter and Mars. I think it's more the melody because it's only played at the end. I remember when we first started jamming that together in the practice room, I was just maybe I didn't pick up on that on the record for some reason. And I think when we jammed it, I just love that bit.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's funny you should say that was the other line I had written down.
Really?
Here. I love that line as well. Shout out to stars like Jupiter and Mars.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually heard that until I looked up the lyrics, to be honest.
And then the following line, the solar wars are surface in your palm.
Where did that come from? Because I was reading that man, that's kind of out there.
Yeah. that was my... I'm glad it wasn't just me.
I think that line was actually Gianluca, to be honest.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think that song didn't have a bridge.
Yeah.
And then we were we needed a bridge, and we doubled the bridge or something like that, and it was a very spur of the moment thing, and he just pulled that out of his ass, and I was like, fucking, that's why you are.
Yeah.
If you want lyrics, say What You Like by White China. The lyrics he's put in there are if we're talking on lyrics, I think when he first played me that song, that was incredible.
Yeah,
I think there might have been some external substances involved. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Before we move on from lyrics, you mentioned her. Who is Snow White?
You know who she is.
Yeah. I can't out.
Are you going to
that.
tell me?
No.
Tell me off air.
No, I'll tell you off air.
To be fair, it's just that song just is a general emotion, and I think it makes me feel like the video captured it really well, because we went on just a night out, and it's funny, we went on a night out in places that we had hung out a lot in London, and that whole time of night where it's very lit up in London and the buses are going past in the video and things, kind of gave off that feeling and emotion that what brought the song to life. And I think that it's just kind of it's not really actually about a particular person, but it's just
Promise.
I promise you. But it's it's just one of those things where it's just we all know these characters, not necessarily even a girl, but it's we've all felt like that. We've kind of wanted, one thing that we always talk about is keeping that youthful nature in the band, and I think the bands that last, the bands that we aspire to be we've all geeked out on the Rolling Stones all afternoon, but they still have the youthful, and Mick Jagger he's 80 1,000 years old, but he could also be 21 when you're watching him on stage.
Absolutely.
You know?
It totally succeeds in that. Like I say, it makes me feel like that listening to it, so it's definitely doing its job. But I that lyric, curls in the hair straightened then bunned up neat. There's got to be someone that inspired that. Right? So I'm going to leave it.
It's like a police investigator.
I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah, can't confirm or deny that one.
So what's the deal then? Literally, you put out this EP. It's on a label, Temple Records, and how do you say this?
B3 Psy.
B3 Psy.
Yeah. So Mike, the head of B3 Psy, he used to have a blog that was called. Well, I think it's still going, but it was blah 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 science. So then the label was
B Cube type of thing.
Yeah.
B3 Psy. But he was like big into British music. He was based out of Chicago originally when he was doing now it's a LA based label, and he's really been great with us. Mike, he's like loves bands, loves music. Was writing about like the 1975 before they were called the 1975, when he's really hot on everything, like very passionate about music. And we played him the Shoot Me to the Moon EP when we were out in LA when we made it, and then that's when he said that he wanted to sign us and help us get started.
Clearly got good taste.
Yeah, he does have good taste. He's honestly like the kind of like dream person in the industry you'd want to work with.
Yeah.
No, it sounds perfect.
Yeah. Sweetheart.
It's probably a good time to talk about this next subject as well, and I hope I know the answer, because I think listening to you guys talk, you're into like the classic bands, so I'm assuming or hoping that you're into the tradition of the album, which is almost like, I mean, it's changed so much, hasn't it, the way people consume music. And I don't know, I guess I'm showing my age, but I find it really difficult, this whole kind of like cherry picking of individual songs and just random culture. Yeah, exactly, and people listening to playlists and then just branching off, and nobody knows the name of what they're even listening to now. So like give me some good news. Surely you guys are into the album, right?
Yeah.
And have you got any plans to put one together?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the exact same with you, that I only sort of consume music via albums. I just, long story short, yes, we're going to do an album, and it's going to be...
Do you know when it might be?
No, there's a few like external things that like need to fall into place before that happens, but it's very much like a priority of ours.
That's
and
really
like
cool. That's good to hear.
We've all dreamt of doing an album for so many years, that so many concepts and ideas are like already floating around. So
because I'm already bugging you for some physical media.
I know. We need to.
I need Shoot Me to the Moon on vinyl.
I think so. Do you like the cover?
I love it. I said that to you from like day one. The artist that's worked on all your stuff probably deserves a shout out, because it's so cool, that artwork. It was just some girl that we found on Instagram actually, and she's based in Italy. We didn't speak to her a ton. Like we told her kind of what we want, and she just smashed it out the park. Because it couldn't have any other cover, could it?
No,
I mean, it is just perfect. You need that on a t-shirt, by the way.
Yeah, it's expensive.
We tried.
That was the dream.
That many colours, it gets expensive. Yeah.
But so you may do with just the one
colour.
Black and white.
Profit margins.
I told you it's good to have a finance guy.
This was Matt's problem to figure out. No, but honestly, that cover art, like I would love to see that on an album.
I've been bugging Jamie. I want that vinyl.
Yeah.
It just looked awesome. Yeah, we'll put a link to her work, because
she's great.
It's super cool. Are you going to continue
Serena.
working with her?
I don't know. Really.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think
it's from the Rafters art by someone else.
Yeah, that was us.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
okay.
we did that. I don't know. It's kind of, I mean, for us, like the art comes after the music, so I guess it kind of depends on you know
what the music sounds
what the
like and
music is saying,
Yeah.
and then
It is important though. I mean, talking about the old school way of
Oh,
digesting.
definitely.
I mean, I think the album cover is so important.
yeah,
You know.
absolutely.
But like this second EP from the Rafters, the artwork and all the video for Snow White and the like the promo stuff we did on Instagram, like it all kind of became coherent, but it was like a natural thing. It wasn't like we thought it out, but it all has movement. So like all the images have movement, and then the video is very like jittery and all over the place, and like, you know, with all the lights and stuff, wasn't it? And then Ryan's been doing all the time lapse stuff in London with the songs over it, and we did a time lapse of when we were in LA. And
cool.
so it's all just like real, but it, you know, it kind of evolves. Not everything's like always thought out from the beginning. So I think that's what James is saying. The songs came, and then the artwork came, and then we were like, okay, and then the video matched that, you know. And it was kind of
it's
like
a kind of
dominoes.
organic. That's how it has to work. Yeah. So let's talk a bit about the live show, because I think I said it to you. I think that the Hoxton show, coming up to seeing that, like I've always enjoyed your shows, but for me standing there watching it, I was like, these guys have gone up another level. That felt like you guys had really like gone up a notch, and there was a real swagger in the band, which I just thought was cool. Slightly disappointed you're not wearing your sunglasses, but like I just thought there was a real vibe on the stage that was like banging up there.
Appreciate it.
And I just wondered, like, first there's a kind of musical geek, like what aspect of the band do you guys enjoy the most? Like the recording, live stuff, not that you have to pick, but
Live for me, 100%.
yeah, me too.
I like getting creative in the studio as well. I get excited when we go to record songs, but the live shows, that one in Hoxton was fun.
Yeah,
It was really fun. That was, I don't know, because we're kind of at the stage in the band where we play some shitty venues, some amazing venues, you know.
that's a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I
Yeah.
really like
that
that venue.
was like maybe my favourite gig we've
Yeah,
done.
I mean the one we've got tonight and the one on the day after, tomorrow. They're venues that we've wanted to play for a long time, so it might change this
I
weekend.
mean, they're iconic venues,
Yeah.
aren't they? We'll definitely get onto that.
Yeah.
I'm. What about you, Ryan? What's your favourite place to be on
Probably up on
stage? Or in,
stage,
yeah.
I love playing on there.
The buzz of the immediate reaction's hard to
Yeah.
beat, but
We're
I
all
kind.
attention seekers apparently.
There's got to be an element of that when
Yeah,
you're in a
you
rock and
gotta-
roll band, right?
gotta have it, yeah.
But I totally relate to what you're saying as well, because I mean, I guess like I was really into the production side as well, a bit like
Yeah.
yourself, like having your own kind of home studio and stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to love like that kind of refining a song, trying to nail down like the perfect version of it. So there's something cool about that aspect of it as well. Do you sense that you guys have stepped up a level? Is that something you're conscious of in terms of the live performance?
We're really focusing on it at the moment.
Yeah.
Because we didn't play for a long time. When we did the first EP, we took like a massive a break from playing live. And as I say, we didn't have Matt wasn't in the band, etc. And then we were trying to figure out the best way to go about it and how we make it sound the best. And
I was trying to think back actually when you guys were a 3-piece. How was that? Was all the bass stuff coming off?
No, we just get friends to fill in back then.
Yeah, we're lucky because we've been around in London and we have a lot of friends that are really, really talented that helped us when we needed them. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you might have added it to like the backing track with some of the synth stuff or something. Yeah,
we thought about it before Matt jumped in. We were like, oh, we don't want to have to not rely on, but you know, I don't want to have to ask my friends for favors.
Yeah.
And, we want to be able to do it just the members of the band. So we talked about doing it getting the bass on tracks and stuff. But I think we wanted. Ideally, we do everything live.
Yeah, completely. And like the bass is critical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it does
Thanks,
add. I'm sure Matt would agree. How do you work out the set list now? Because you're like, you guys were talking earlier, like you've nailed your half an hour. Like you guys have got like a seriously like hot half an hour now. But there's songs that we talked about, like Don't Stop, for example, that's not in the current set. Like how are you guys working out sets now?
Kind of like when we're supporting, we just want to just blow the roof off for half an hour. But I think, you know, for our headliner shows, because obviously they're longer sets, we want to take the audience on more of a journey. So I think that's when, you know, the songs like Don't Stop are like vital to
because
that
it's
kind
got
of
such
set.
a different vibe, hasn't it,
Yeah.
to change the mood.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a logistical thing as well, isn't it? Because you need another guitar.
Yeah.
Well, you don't need it, but I think
Yeah.
use a Les Paul for it, I think, and it definitely suits
Sounds-
it for the guitar geeks out there. It's I guess thicker than the Strat that you use.
Yeah.
So that's one logistical reason why it's been dipped.
Yeah.
I think Appetite tends to always finish the set. I think
Yeah.
that's pretty much a given. And then when we went to LA, there was discussions about changing the set order with Gianluca, and again, because when you're in the band, you have an idea of how you want it to sound, and then having actually someone, this fifth member, who can give you advice
Objective
honestly,
opinion.
exactly, sort of. So we switched it around there, and we've sort of kept that since with a few tweaks.
Because it is quite important, isn't it? Like you say, particularly when you're coming along, maybe playing a support slot, people don't know you. You want to get in there and just absolutely smash it.
yeah.
Don't
That's
you?
what I was going to say. It's mainly to do with audience reaction.
Yeah.
I think you know, if we're playing a show at home and the friends and stuff are coming out to see, maybe they don't want to hear like Shoot Me to the Moon and Don't Stop back to back, because it's like, you know, it's more of like a listening experience. If they support you, they kind of just want to come and have a dance thing.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of gauging that, you know, because we'd love to play all of the songs, but like I think
yeah, like Show Yourself Around is like a song that at the moment we don't really incorporate into our shows, but I
was
think
going to say about that song. I
Yeah.
kind of miss that
I
song.
know,
I
I
like
miss
that
it.
track.
I
yeah.
miss it. That
It's
song's a
cool
vibe.
tune.
So I think there's been talks of definitely bringing that in, and also like the 2 new tracks that we've got coming out towards the end of the year, like they're going to be sick live. So
This is the fun though, isn't it? How it evolves, and like you say, as time goes on, how you can play different sets depending on like what the scenario
yeah,
is.
exactly. Yeah.
Which is cool. So we talked a little bit about like last night's gig, and I want to, you know, this is success on the South Coast, right? We need to talk a little bit about the local scene. As I mentioned to you earlier, it's cool the fact that in some of your videos, Appetite, we talked about running through Bournemouth Gardens. You got Don't Stop, which you told me was in Hengistbury. Prom Dress as well, I think. Is
That was all over, like Kimmeridge Bay.
Was it? Yeah.
The
Swanage.
centre.
because that starts with you like sat on a chair in the sea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
because we filmed that in 2 different locations, didn't we? It was a Studland, and
Yeah,
it was,
looked
and
like-
also
I
Kimmeridge
think
Bay.
it was,
Yeah.
No, that bit wasn't Kim. That was Studland. Yeah,
That was Studland. Yeah.
So when we talk about like musicians and artists from Dorset, I was kind of like had to do some research because there's not like loads of obvious stuff. But apparently PJ Harvey's from somewhere in Dorset, which I didn't know.
Wow,
And apparently
okay.
one of Little Mix is from Weymouth, which is
Really?
kind of bizarre.
Random.
And I thought the best example I've always thought is probably Alex James, you know, bass player from Blur, being
Yeah.
from Bournemouth.
Yeah.
If you start travelling along the coast, then you've got a bit more action. Craig David
Yeah, I was
in
going to say
Southampton.
Southampton's
A bit
finest.
further along, when you get into Brighton, it starts getting interesting. Royal Blood and just like a whole ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the music scene down here?
I like, you know, there are some amazing bands. Like, you know, obviously, like, they're our friends, but Matt's in another band called The Lonely Surf, and they're awesome. And then George the King is in a band called Wave Chase, who we gig with quite a lot. We got a gig come up with them in Southampton, and they're awesome.
Magic Gang from there as well. They just broke up.
Yeah. It's just difficult down here just to sort of like get your name out there.
It's a little bit out of the way.
But
I
then,
think it's been in Southampton's shadow. I
Yeah.
think is half. I think at Southampton you've got Joiners, which is you go in there and you've got
Have you
Green Day,
played that
Oasis,
venue yet?
Ed
we haven't
Sheeran.
played the Joiners
Yeah,
yet.
you need to.
Yeah, that's got.
Yeah.
to
But
be on
it was
the
part of our childhood. Like we've gone to Joiners as kids and watched bands and been like, "Fuck, man, I want to be on that stage."
It was the first venue I went back after the lockdown.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
so
and it was
it's-
good to be back in there. I actually saw Wet Leg, you know,
Oh,
who
yeah.
are kind of localish, aren't they?
Isle
Isle
of
of Wight or
Wight,
something.
yeah.
And that was just when they just blew up, and that was like amazing.
Yeah,
but
that
like you
would've
said,
been so
Joiners
good.
is just a cool venue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
no, I
Bournemouth
do
lives
love
in its shadow.
Yeah, we're
I think
playing
it's-
Heartbreakers, aren't we?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like,
2 weeks tonight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers, Stuart.
At least someone knows.
Yeah, we need a manager.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about the move to London. It is kind of necessary, sadly, isn't it? I think there's like a ceiling to what you can do around here. Like it's a good like test bed, and you know it's great to come back and do your hometown shows. But did you guys feel that you get to a point where it's just like you got to be in a bigger city to kind of give this thing a proper shot?
Yeah, I mean, I think like with Bournemouth, obviously quite a small town, you can fall into the trap of being a bit of like a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
So we always wanted to throw ourselves into the deep end, and like, you know, even aside from the music, I would have moved to London anyway, and like I love it there at the moment. But it definitely felt like if we wanted to take it to the next level, like it was either that or New York, and sadly we can't go to New York just yet.
No, I totally agree. One thing I wanted to talk about, because I don't know about you guys, but having been in bands and kind of know what it's like, there's always this sort of perception that it's all kind of sex, drugs and rock and roll, right? And like no one's going to deny like it's fantastic fun, right? But it is also hard work. You know, I don't think people always necessarily like think about it, like all the travelling around for gigs, like juggling the 9 to 5s to try and pay the bills whilst you're kind of on the up, all of the setting up and the packing down. Like Ryan, I was watching you at the end of the gig last night. Everyone else is buggered off, and like, the drummer's job still got to pack everything up.
Yeah, more and more stuff's getting added as well.
Well, that's the thing. You kind of didn't even have your own kit, did you, last night? Yeah, and it's just so it's
still mine.
it's crazy. So how do you guys manage the day-to-day job with, you know?
You get told off at work a lot, I think.
Yeah,
being on your phone,
it's difficult, and I think like for me, the hardest part is that it does get in the way of relationships. Like not necessarily like, you know, a girlfriend or like partner, but like even just like friendships. It's like, you know, they've all got that stuff going on, and you have to make sacrifices not to spend time with people you want to spend time with.
Yeah, it's like weekends, everyone else is out partying, you got to be driving somewhere to do a show or something. Not that it's that much of a sacrifice.
It's like, you know, we're living the dream, but it's just
you do have to make choices, don't you? It's tough in that respect.
Like you got to make selfish choices sometimes as well, which like is really hard to do,
and it's limiting as well, just from a practical point of view. You know, you can't necessarily do all the gigs you'd want to do, because if you've got work, how are you going to go and play in Manchester or something like that? So it's
Skype.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But it's hard to balance to doing a band and working. Really hard. It's a bit because I was just thinking that like the next 3 or 4 weekends we're doing stuff together, whether it's like shows, videos, photo shoots and all that kind of stuff, trying to organise all those stuff, keep the good relationships with all these people, because everyone's like helping us and is, you know, talented in their own, like at their own field, and you know we want to have enough time to give to them and show respect to them and keep those relationships going. Same thing with everyone from top to bottom, like the amount of people you have to talk to, like the booking agents, the venues, the sound people, the other bands, that you know, like just goes on and on and on.
Man, yeah.
And you know, we want to be like nice and great to all of these people and also do all of these things, and then you got to, you know, keep on top of everything and keep everyone sweet and stuff. It's just a lot to remember. It helps having 4 of us, obviously.
It's tough though, isn't it? Because you're at that point where you're just like, you just need to get over the next level, and hopefully the jobs will drop away and you have that time back. But when you're at this point where you're just breaking and you need that time and you want to be looking at doing bigger tours than that, and you've still got to juggle everything, it's quite tough.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But what's it been like for you, Matt? I was interested because obviously you've got like the family business and you're like newer to the band. Like, what did the family say when you announced that you're pursuing your rock and roll dreams?
My dad is a big fan of music. We sort of really lightly touched on it before we started recording that my dad used to have a drum kit when he was in his teens, and I think he lives vicariously through me in terms of music. So
I thought it was just me.
no,
Good to know.
I think any band I've been in, he's always supported it. I think I'm fortunate that I'm able to balance the work and music at the same time. We've openly had discussions that if this band does, or I say when it takes off, there will have to be a discussion as to what I do with work,
You'll have to tell them you're leaving.
Yeah, I'm sort of beating around it now.
Stuart be in that meeting.
Yeah. You can be my mediator. But no, they came to the show last night, saw both bands, loved them both. Can see that I really, really enjoy it. Appreciate it is a difficult thing to try and do, and as long as I work hard when I'm working for them and do everything I need to do, which I do, then it's fine. I'm flexible where I can, if I'm doing a bit of band emails and stuff in the evening or in the afternoon, I can work later. So work weekends if I need to. So they want me to be able to do it. So they're super supportive.
That's really good to hear, because it is important having the support, isn't it, from family and friends.
As you get older, because your responsibilities grow. I think when you're a 16, 17-year-old, when we were back in the day, I was drumming with these boys, and your only responsibilities, I suppose, are GCSEs, which are serious. but
you heard that, kids.
Yeah, you heard that. But I think outside of music, I just think getting older, like responsibilities sadly are there, and you have to manage those, and the younger you can get into it, usually the easier it is, because you're conflicting. Do I go to the cinema and McDonald's with my mates or play a rock show? Whereas now it's, do I turn up to my 9 to 5? Do I? Fortunately we've got no kids or anything like that.
It's horrible when life gets serious.
Yeah, it really is.
It is. That's why Luca said we try and keep it youthful.
Yeah.
I think it is just to perhaps escape that reality for a bit.
Well, keep it going as long as you can.
We will.
But talking about like the vibe of the band, I mean, from my point of view, it's awesome to see like a proper band, like a band of brothers. That's kind of always been like the kind of stuff I've been into. I always wonder though, like, what are the kind of, we talked a bit earlier about you guys doing a lot of the like gig booking, but what different roles do you think the four of you kind of bring?
I would say like everyone has their strengths and things. I'd say since Matt's come in and stuff, me and him, for example, have been focusing on the show aspect, but everyone's got like their own. I mean, like Ryan, for example, helps us a lot with all the graphic stuff. Matt's great at that as well. Like, everyone's got their things that they bring to the band. Do you know what I mean? So it's not really like me and James. James is really good at coming up with the concepts of the videos and stuff like that as well.
And I look after the link tree.
You do look after our link tree.
Someone has to.
You water that bitch.
Yeah.
Once a month, sure.
I did notice you actually put the Southampton gig on it. So
yeah, that was
congrats.
great.
You keep it out for
Nice,
it.
nice
Done this
work.
Found a good work.
Yeah, thank you. That's someone else.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you guys have like a kind of shared vision and like shared mission?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd like be where we are without that.
No.
Or we would, but we'd probably all hate each other.
Yeah.
We didn't
Yeah.
have, like the shared.
It is really important, isn't it, to
It's
all
everything.
kind of know where you're heading and everyone be kind of on board with it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I totally.
On that front then, what do you think the highlights have been so far? Like if you each had to pick like one highlight.
I say maybe this is kind of happening at the moment. I think the first show we played in LA was great. I think Appetite getting like our first 1 million streams on a song was really.
I mean, that is insane, isn't it?
It was cool.
That must feel really good.
Yeah, that was cool.
We actually had the letter as well.
Oh yeah, so we got like our first bit of fan mail at the Colours gig.
Wow,
and it was just such a lovely message, and it sort of like was a nice reminder of why we're actually doing this, because it was someone who just was finding comfort in what we were doing, and so that's what it's all about, really. And I know it's such a cliche, but hearing people like scream the words of your songs back to you live, it just is the best feeling ever.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's cool. Yeah. What about you, Matt?
I mean, can't beat around the bush. Going to Los Angeles to do music was completely surreal. I think
LA Matt was the loosest person I've ever met.
Thank you, James. Yeah, it was just surreal meeting people that work in the music industry and have it as their day to day, and just being amongst it all, playing the show, being away from British weather. Just there were just so many levels to it that were surreal.
I must admit, I love California anyway. It's just a great vibe out there, isn't it?
It's a really cool vibe, yeah.
Like, speaking of living vicariously through you, I must like, what was it like stepping onto stage in LA? Because when you guys told me you were doing that, I was like, oh man, that is cool.
Yeah, I mean, it felt right.
It felt like coming home.
It felt like
yeah, we like it.
No, loved it. It just felt obviously like a mix of like surreal, but also it was like we are meant to be here.
Yeah. And I didn't realise you had the fifth member of the band up on stage.
Yeah,
that must have been really cool.
Gianluca.
Because that must have added a complete. Well, you said already, it adds a totally additional vibe to the whole thing.
It really did.
It was different for Ryan as well, because obviously up until then and post then we use a backing track, but there was no backing track. And I think, I don't know, I'm speaking on behalf of you, but I feel like most drummers maybe would rather not play with a backing track because it's loose. It brings a lot of, it pieces everything together for a gig for the audience. But I think as a drummer, I'll let you.
No, it's hard playing to metronomes. It's just, it kind of takes a bit of the fun out of it for me.
Yeah.
Because we're a tight band anyway, sometimes I feel like we don't need to be on the metronome, but I suppose we need all the backing stuff that's happening.
Yeah, like
it's only for the backing stuff. It's
it's
just to get that.
It just takes out some of that like live aspect that I love.
Yeah.
Because you have to be, but I feel like I have to be a robot up there sometimes.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
And you've got the earpiece in, so in a little way you're a bit removed from the rest of the band in that respect.
And like all our favourite bands, like, you know, you never catch Zeppelin playing to a click. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so much magic, like when you're just sort of locked in with each other organically, and then like, you know, you can take the song to a completely different place. So I think that's definitely like the next steps for us is working out how we can start doing that live consistently.
Speaking of that, I mean, but without wanting to sidetrack us too much, it always blows my mind. I mean, you mentioned like a band like Zeppelin, like how these guys managed to record that stuff on like tape without like clicks.
I mean, like
it's just
like Jimmy Page just completely changed the game in terms of like recording guitar.
I think they were all just such elite musicians. Like
they're the Avengers, like
it's just phenomenal though, isn't it, with all like the overdubbing and to have such a like rich stuff put together,
and just like how creative,
without Pro Tools, like, you know,
just like how creative they used to get in the studios, and like the drums.
I just can't believe that
when the levee breaks and stuff like that.
It's destructive recording, isn't it? It's like you commit to it. So if you layer it onto a tape, you can't get that layer you've just put on off, so it's destructive. Whereas
it's like, Jimmy, you're going to punch in this solo now. If you get it wrong,
all those drums we've taken are wrong. Like there's us sweating when I'm recording bass in a studio, which I can.
You got 1,000 takes if you want.
It's
and
just
if you
levels,
need to, you can just take a loop and just like,
puts things into perspective, I guess.
So as people probably have noticed, one of the themes of the podcast is all around success. So from a band point of view, I mean, you've all got personal goals, but from a band point of view, what does success look like right now?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think, like I touched on earlier, like for a lot of years, we struggled so much with capturing what we had visioned in the studio. So I think, you know, being able to capture what we've got in our heads and then like that connecting and resonating with people is, in my eyes, like the most success you can get.
Yeah, that's a cool
and then
answer.
also dominating the world eventually.
Yeah, I think we like in terms of. I mean, to be honest with you, it's like tonight playing the venue that we're playing at like is like a success in a way. You know what I mean? Because I like we wanted to do it and we're doing it and stuff. We tick these like
the
little things
Louisiana.
off. Yeah, playing at the
Bristol,
Louisiana and
Bristol,
Bristol
yeah.
tonight.
O'Meara in London tomorrow.
Exactly, yeah. So there are those little things, but if it was like a massive dream, I think probably we grew up going to Reading Festival, so I'd probably be playing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we saw some great bands there. The first time we ever went, we saw Rob Blood, Metallica, Bring Me the Horizon, so many bands like, it's like our childhood like.
That's
festival,
like,
you know?
I can imagine that's like a proper pinch me moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're up on that stage looking over
Yeah.
that sea of people.
Yeah.
I bet like Pyramid for me would just.
I was
be,
going to
like,
say that. Yeah,
mental.
it's interesting you picked Reading over Glastonbury.
Yeah.
Are you more on the Glastonbury vibe then?
He's the only
Yeah.
one to have been, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean Glastonbury, like I don't know, anyone who's been just knows that it just has something that no other festival has.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be my choice as well. I think when you do
Yeah.
that, I want a ticket to stand and watch side of stage.
Oh mate,
Absolutely.
it's yours. You
What-
can be like Bez, get on stage with us.
Mate, you be careful what you wish for. I can bring my tambourine and maracas.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? What do you think of as successes here? Because it kind of continues to evolve, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But as you sit there today, like what's kind of on the horizon?
I think for me, it's looking ahead to the next few shows that we're playing, like particularly with Daily J and stuff. There'll hopefully be people that have never seen, well, most will have never seen us before. I think for me, it's going back to these places in 6 months and having people come to see us.
Yeah.
So I think it's. I think we all know, any artist, any band knows the art is to support big bands and have their fans look at you and go, oh, I didn't know who you guys were until now. I think for me, it's listing our show on Spotify, listing it on Instagram, and having people want to come down. Because we know what it's like when you play a hometown show. It's predominantly friends, family and stuff. You don't shy away from that they come down. I think it's that people willing to part with money as sort of transactional as it sounds, but I think people willing to like your music enough to free up their evening to come down and come on their own accord.
Because that is massive, right? There's so much competition for people's
exactly.
time. Like,
Yeah.
not even just music, but you got a choice. Do I sit at home
Yeah.
and watch Netflix,
Yeah.
or do I go and watch Fake a Smile?
Yeah.
And like you say, to start having people that you don't know coming up to you and not recognising anyone in the
Yeah,
audience, that's
That to
awesome.
me is the tangible.
It is,
That's
yeah.
the tangible. Like, you know, I've played in bands over the years, and that has always been the struggle. The
Yeah.
hometown shows are fine, and supporting bands is fine, but I think when you list yourself as the headliner and you put your neck out there, to have people, because as you said, it's so saturated. Music is so saturated that people can listen to your music and you can have the streams and you can have the listens, but that's so easy to do. There's no effort in that. It's
From the audience member.
from the audience coming to a show
Yeah.
and willing to put
Yeah.
that. To me, that would be success, I think, because there's a lot of things that could go wrong in that
Yeah.
to actually go.
No, I absolutely love that answer. That's awesome. What about you, Ryan?
For me, I love hearing people sing back to us when we're live. That's what really gets me going.
Yeah.
And we had a show in Brighton, and it wasn't like the biggest crowd. We had like 5 or 6 people at the front that we didn't know, like just singing the lyrics to us, and that's probably one of my favourite shows we've ever done.
Yeah.
Just because of that moment was like, that's a bit of a made it moment in my eyes.
Yeah, I think that
That's a
actually,
great
like
moment.
you asked earlier about like a turning point or like a pinch me moment. That what Ryan's just said was actually one of them. Where like I think it was probably like the first time we had like genuine fans who had like absolutely no connections to us, just absolutely screaming. So that was cool.
That's great fun.
And as I mentioned to you before, I always finish with this little feature I call Life by Misadventure, because I've always thought it's interesting, like in life, how you learn a lot of lessons from kind of unexpected, like different sources. You know, it's not just at your day job. So I just wondered, has anyone got any lesson that you've learnt from an unexpected source?
it's a really tough question.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this is maybe a bit like basic, but I remember like at the end of school I was at a crossroads whether to do like music at uni or do politics at uni, and I went down the politics route, funnily enough, and that was just like, yeah, no, I need rock and roll. And like uni was good fun, but I think that like that whole adventure, sort of like being locked into doing something that I necessarily didn't enjoy, like put the rest of my life into perspective and was like actually like trying to make this dream come true is just like everything.
I think that's a great answer, to be honest, and I think it's a really good lesson for anyone watching, that it's so much better to have given this thing a shot.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
It's tough. It's really tough. I mean, I was going to say, I had like a reminder on my phone for like 4 or 5 years now. It just says like, it flashes up every day and it's just like, no's happen, keep going. And, but I just like get challenged with that every day, to be honest with you. It's quite funny that like, even like years and years ago, I was able to tell myself that, but like actually living through the no's and living through the ups and the downs and stuff is fucking challenging every day. And I don't think it applies to just music. Anything you want to do, any job you want to do, any like business you're building, everything, a relationship, you know, like pushing on and pushing through it is so much easier said than done. And I think that this band's like teaches me that. And I think if this band does end up becoming like what hopefully it has the potential to become,
when
thanks, yeah. But it will be because we just like didn't quit, you know.
That resiliency is
Yes.
like massive, isn't it? Like everyone's talking about these days.
Yeah.
But I was actually meant to ask you like how you deal with failure, because there is a lot of rejection, isn't there?
Oh,
there's a lot.
so much.
There's a lot of things that don't go your way, and it's tough.
Most things
Yeah.
doesn't go your way in this industry.
Yeah.
Until they do.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone wants to be a part of things that are flying, but no one wants to, you know, there's very much less people want to take a chance on things that they believe in.
Yeah.
Someone like Mike, for example, who is the head of the label that we assigned to, who did the first 2 EPs with, he was somebody that, like, you know, had nothing to gain from us, you know. Obviously he
At
does,
that
but
point,
at that point, you know,
Yeah.
he was like, I just love the music and I believe in you guys.
Yeah.
Gianluca's obviously prime example in our lives. Like, you know, he owes us absolutely zero, you know.
Yeah.
We are, you know, he just helped us because he believes in us and because he's our friend.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's those like people who like see something and take a risk on you early stages. It's like you feel like you owe it to them to give it your everything, and it'd be an injustice like not to do that, not only to yourselves but also on like, you know, the special people who almost put their neck on the line for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in a proper band, having like the rest of the guys helps, right, in these scenarios. 'Cause you can almost like try and have a laugh about it. Or,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, like
you almost have to, don't you?
Yeah, like laugh or cry,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, we've all had our moments, and like, I think we're pretty good at supporting each other and like being honest about like, either when something's upset them or like, obviously like we piss each other off at times, but like communicating through that and like just being there for each other is super important.
No, there's a lot of really good lessons in that. Well, sadly, that's kind of the end of today. I just want to say thank you so much. It's been a really fun conversation and really good to meet you all properly. You're heading off, as you mentioned, straight to Bristol now.
Yeah.
So you're off, you mentioned Louisiana in Bristol tonight.
Yeah.
O'Meara, London tomorrow. What are the best links and stuff? Is it like the Instagram? Is that obviously the link tree, which is kept up to date religiously?
Yeah, Fake a Small Band on Insta, and then it's all there.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll put all the links on everything,
Please,
obviously.
thank you,
But
sir.
I know you got loads of support back here. But like, as you know, I'm really, really excited for you. I am totally spreading the word at every
I
opportunity.
really appreciate it.
And I really want to see you guys put like Bournemouth on the map when it comes to bands. It's been too long without having a band, so hopefully you'll come back in like 6 months or something, and we can do a follow-up and you can tell us what the latest adventures are.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Mate.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you. Thanks for having us.
But
Really
thanks
appreciate it.
again, all right guys, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
problem at all.
Cheers.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks a lot.